What is up? Welcome back to the Be Unexpected podcast with Wyatt and Jake. Today we are joined by college basketball coach of Winona State basketball team, Coach Todd Eisner. Hey, Coach Eisner, thanks for joining us.
It's awesome to be here. Great to see you guys again.
Yeah. So, quick story. Coach Eisner was my college basketball coach when he was at Midland University my freshman year, and you know, Coach, you never let me play in a game. Like, I remember one time you asked who doesn't get enough playing time, and I raised my hand like, Coach, I'll play. And
You
you
know
never.
why? You know why it always came down to whether or not you could make free throws at the end of practice, and
I made a couple.
you did make a couple. You were a rock star. You were a rock star because you got the guys out of running that day.
Yeah.
Probably should have put you in with the way sometimes the way Galen Gully played. We probably should have put you in instead of him.
I don't know about that, but
Oh,
I'm just trying to play JV, man. So, but yeah, Coach, just share with us a little bit about your growing up in Wisconsin and how you got involved in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a basketball family, so it certainly wasn't forced on me, but it was just part of, my daily life. My dad was my coach. I actually played for him for 6 straight years. I played for him in junior high. He was a varsity coach when I was growing up, and then through some health issues, he stepped away from being the varsity coach and coached junior high basketball, and I played for him those 2 years there. And then as I was going to be a freshman in high school, he took the varsity program back over and played for him all 4 years there. So it was a great experience. Obviously, my middle brother is 2 years younger than me, and so our senior year, we were fortunate to win the state championship, and so it was a big family affair. I've got one other younger brother, and obviously my mom, and but yeah, I mean, I grew up in a gym, and so sports has always been a passion. Basketball was my biggest passion, but as Wyatt and I went to war verbally all those years. I mean, whether it's Wisconsin, whether it's Marquette, whether it's the Packers, the Bucks, the Brewers, Wisconsin born and bred, and those are my teams for the most part. But I love sports and have been very fortunate to be involved in it all my life. And now I get to do it on the other end over the last 31 years already. I just finished my
Jeez.
25th year as a college head coach, and get a chance to impact young people's lives, which is really the main reason we're in this.
Yeah, for sure. What was it like playing for your dad? Was it hard sometimes, or was it pretty easy playing for your dad in high school?
Yeah, it was hard early, and not early. So I started as a freshman on the varsity
Mhm.
team and had a really good year. And so I thought a lot of myself after that year. And so the only real issues were caused by me, and it was our sophomore year. And my dad made it pretty clear to me that that's not how things were going to go moving forward. And as it was made clear to me, I made sure that it didn't go in that direction any longer, because I don't think I would have ended up on the right side of that equation. So once I checked my ego at the door and found out that there was more to the game than just my stats, as a sophomore, things went great. And to this day, I tell people all the time I was very fortunate. I only played for two coaches. I played for my dad and I played for Coach Baroni, and those two had a huge impact on my life and on my career, and main reasons why I got into the coaching profession in the first place.
is that from a young age? Did you know, like, talking to your dad, like, hey, I want to be like you, or like, I want to be a head coach one day?
No doubt. And so my dad, he had enough trust in me at a really young age. If he needed to go scouting, he would, even if there was two schools within a close distance, he might drop me off at one high school and scout a team and go scout the other team, pick me up on the way home. So it was just something. I was drawing up plays with my middle brother, at 10 years old downstairs, and just really had a passion for it at a really early age, and it just never really wavered. And still enjoy it today. Still get excited to go watch young people play and get excited to go to practice every day. And as long as you have that passion for whatever you do in life, it makes getting out of bed in the morning a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure. So then, like, how was the recruiting process for you when you came out of high school?
Yeah, it was it was early, so there was no AAU. Like I said, I'm 55 years old, so back then there was no AAU tournaments at all, and so at that time to be recognized, you had to get invited to 2 national camps. One was called the BC camp, which was held in Indiana, and one was called 5 Star, which is still going on out at Pittsburgh. But you had to get invited to the second week called Pit 2. And I got invited to both those camps. And in my junior year, I had, you name the school. I had Syracuse, Iowa, Iowa State, Michigan, Michigan State, Stanford, Marquette, Wisconsin, all in my gym watching us play, whether it was practice or a game. And I went to those camps, and actually the first one in particular got destroyed and learned a real hard lesson. My dad had never gone through the recruiting process before. There had never been a player coming out of Chilton that warranted that type of recruiting. And so we didn't really know what was going on, to be real honest with you. But you had all these coaches talking great about you up until that camp, and then we never heard from them again. I mean, it was just done. It wasn't like we're going to move in another direction or anything. It was just, that was the last time you ever heard from them. And so I did better out at Pitt 2. And so my recruiting process kind of changed a little bit from probably the high major level to the mid major level. And really liked Coach Baroni. Was in his first year. I was in his first recruiting class at Creighton in fall of 1985, and loved the possibility of coming in and starting something new and trying to build something special. And then the academics at Creighton was a big selling point for me and my family also. And so that's really, I had about 5 schools. Creighton and Marquette both wanted me to wait until the spring to sign, which, as I know now, means they had other priorities to try to sign before that. And if they didn't get them, then they would come back to you, and but I didn't know that then, but I still wanted it over. I knew we had a chance to have a really good high school team my senior year, and I didn't want to deal with the recruiting process because, again, if you have 300 people in the stands, 400 people in the stands, you can pick out the college coaches. Mm-hmm. And the people that say it doesn't affect them, I think, are probably lying. You know that they're there, and maybe you play a little bit differently. And I didn't want to deal with that my senior year. And so I signed with Creighton early and ended up obviously being a really good choice for a lot of reasons.
Did you, when you were little, was it a dream to play at Wisconsin, at Marquette, and stay around there?
Yeah, I think anybody, for the most part, would love to play for their home school, home state school, whether that be Wisconsin or Marquette, obviously for us. And it just didn't work out. I knew Wisconsin had signed somebody just like me the year before. I'd played against him in some postseason tournaments that they have in the state of Wisconsin, and he was good. I'm not sure I would have gone there and beaten him out. And so they probably didn't have a need. And then Marquette was, like I said, kind of delaying things, and so you can only go where you're wanted. And Creighton put the full court press on, and so did Bradley. And I think it was important to go where you had an opportunity to play. And like I said, Coach Baroni was starting over fresh with his program, and I got in then on year 2, obviously, and was able to start a lot of games. And again, I wouldn't trade it, to go play at Syracuse and play 8 minutes a game, or maybe not even at all. Doesn't seem very enticing looking back on it. And the funny thing is now I talk about that in the recruiting process at this level, because most of the guys we recruit, want to play Division I, whether it's low major. And we try to talk about, okay, what's your experience going to be like there, as opposed to having an opportunity to walk in and contribute right away at the Division II level. And you win some of those battles, and you don't win some of those battles. But that's kind of what came down to why I chose Creighton as opposed to trying to wait for our state schools to say they wanted me.
Yeah. So what was it like as a freshman coming in? What adversity did you face trying to just be in the rotation?
Well, and I was probably already starting to get fat, Wyatt. I'm a lot fatter now than I was 8 years ago, but I'm not exactly, I don't exactly look like I've lived in the weight room. Let's just put it that way. And so when I played for my dad, at that time, lifting was just starting to become a thing. So you want to talk about adversity. It was adversity caused by myself. As my dad's like, you need to get in the weight room, you need to get in the weight room, you need to get in the weight room. And there was a part of me, the bad cop on my shoulder, said, you're averaging 28 points a game. What do you need to get in the weight room for? And so I got to Creighton, and obviously it wasn't optional then, and turned around and really was not physically ready, certainly in the upper body. My lower body's always been pretty thick and strong, but my upper body was not. And my very first game at Creighton, we played Iowa State at home, and I got matched up with a guy by the name of Jeff Grayer, who was the number 1 draft pick of the Milwaukee Bucks. And that matchup didn't go real well for me in any way, shape, or form. We were fortunate to win the game, but And then the third game of my career, we played at Kansas State, and I was matched up against a guy by the name of Mitch Richmond, who's in the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame and played at Kansas State, then played, a lot of years with the Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors. And, and these guys were men and they were, pros. And so you talk about adversity right out of the gate. It was a learning experience because we were really young. So we got beat a lot. We were 9-19 my freshman year.
Ooh.
So you start to wonder, you start to question. And then Wyatt, I know you didn't see this because I still had a torch whenever I did shoot it back in the day at Midland. But my freshman year at Creighton, I went 0 for 19 in the Missouri Valley Conference from three. I didn't make a one. Now, I made a few in the non-conference season, but in the 14 Valley games, I missed every three-point shot I attempted. And you want to talk about the game messing with your head. The game had messed with my head. I mean, to the point, end of the year, I was better off bowling than I was playing basketball because the ball wasn't going in, and so it's hard. It's a huge challenge. It's a huge adjustment. You're 9 hours from home. You get homesick. You're playing for a different guy who coaches differently than your dad did, and you don't know which one's right, which one's wrong per se. It's freshmen have it hard, and I tried to transfer, and the best story I can tell you is so Wisconsin Green Bay. Coach Dick Bennett, who coached at Green Bay, then coached at Wisconsin, coached at Washington State. His son Tony coaches at Virginia right now. I went up there and worked out all summer when I was home, and I always wanted to play for him. He was a legendary Wisconsin coach, and I said, Coach, I want to transfer here. And he sat me down and he said, here's the deal, Todd. I'll take you right now if you really want to come. I'll take you next year if you don't like it. But here's what I'm going to suggest to you. You need to go back to Creighton. He says your first year in college is your hardest year by far. And I really think things will be different if you're willing to stick it out and continue to work. And if it doesn't, we'll take you. But I really think you should go back and give it another try. Best advice I ever got. Things change. Coach Bruni really tested you your freshman year to find out how tough you were. And as soon as he found out you were tough enough, then, he was going to still yell at you if you weren't playing well, but he wasn't trying to test you every day. And so the testing was done. And now it's just about going and becoming a better basketball player, helping us become a better basketball team. And it's the best advice I got in my college career was, don't run from hard, embrace hard and challenge yourself to overcome hard. And that saved me, to be real honest with you. Not that Green Bay might not have been a great opportunity, but Creighton still was a great opportunity, and it ended up being an awesome opportunity as we got more and more successful, during my career.
Wow. Isn't that crazy that some of your best advice is from a different coach that, he could have just said, oh, yeah, we'll take you. I mean, you're a great player. Sure, come. But to stick it out and to persevere at Creighton.
Yeah, and to be real honest with you, I mean, you give him so much credit. And that's, if you ever see Tony get interviewed at Virginia, I mean, everything there about the Bennett family is about humility and doing the right thing. And again, I wasn't a great player at Creighton, but when I was up there playing against those guys, I was killing them. So, I mean, he had to be, and whether it's legal or illegal, I think it was illegal, but he was in watching every day. And he had to know that I would have helped him because I was killing the guys he had in the program. And yet he told me to go back, so that just, again, shows you the type of person he is, because as you mentioned, Jake, I mean, it'd have been real easy to say, we got to have this guy. Yeah. And he didn't. So he's been a friend of our family's for a long time. My dad and him coached against each other in high school way back in the day, and just great people.
That's awesome. So as you go along at Creighton, you were a team captain, right?
Yes.
For Creighton. So what did that teach you? Just now everyone's looking to you, the players are. And were you a captain your last 2 years?
Last 2 years, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what leadership lessons did you learn from being a team captain?
Yeah, leadership's hard. It's one of the things we talk about with our guys right now. It's getting harder. Yeah. Number one, as a leader, you got to be at the front of the line. You can't hide. And you got to be willing to step up and be there every day. I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard to lead if you aren't going to be held to a high standard every single day. So you got to step to the front of the line every day. You got to be there for yourself. You got to be there for your teammates. You have no credibility in terms of criticizing others if you aren't, adhering to the standards that are set for your program on a daily basis. The issue, and I didn't feel it was as hard then as it is now, is young people really struggle with having the willingness to criticize because most of the time they know that they can be criticized. They're not real comfortable being leaders because it's hard. Like I said, you got to be there every day. You can't take days off. But that's, from a leadership standpoint, it was just, I felt like I had a really good knowledge of what we were doing. I could help people. Wyatt, you've seen me. My mouth is always kind of running. It's loud. I've been that way when I played. So my voice could be heard. But I think the guys respected me too, and again, I know we've talked about kind of overcoming adversity. I tore both my ACLs playing at Creighton. So I only played 3 years, a little over 3 years, because the second one happened in the 10th game of the year. So I played a year, sat out a year, played a year, sat out a year, played a year. But I think the guys saw my willingness to want to come back, some of the struggles I had to get back, especially the second time, because physically I was never athletic, but I went from being non-athletic to really non-athletic after the second ACL tear. But I think the guys respected the fact that I was going to do everything I could to be there for them and for us, and that's I think one of the best things you can do as a leader is set a great example. And I just tried to set a great example on a daily basis.
What was your mindset like when you got hurt, recovered, got hurt? Because did you have to? I mean, because I remember when I got hurt, it's like I got down in the dumps, and you get pissed off and frustrated, and you got to pull yourself out, and you got to recover, and so there's so much.
100%, 100%. So the first time, I played a lot as a freshman, but my numbers were very pedestrian. I think I averaged like 3 points a game, but again, you're a freshman, you're just getting used to it. And so I had a great off season, and we played at that time you played a bunch of these national teams, and we played the Russian national team. I want to say they had 2 or 3 Olympians on the team.
Wow.
And I was our leading scorer and rebounder in the game. So, I mean, I was brimming with confidence and, felt like a new man, looked like a new man, really believed that, things were going to get moving in a really positive direction. And the very next day I tore my ACL in practice. It was out for the year. And I pouted, Jake. I pouted. I was not good. I talked to our guy. I try to use myself as an example with our guys as much as I can. I wasn't a bad teammate, but I felt sorry for myself, and I wanted people to know that I felt sorry for myself. So I remember, again, distinctively, with my leg in a brace, I kind of sat on the end of the bench, but then off the court a little bit because I couldn't afford somebody to run into me. But I didn't get up and cheer. It was kind of like, oh, look at Eisner pouting at the end of the bench. Don't you feel sorry for him? Blah, blah, blah. It was horrible. I look back now, I'm disgusted with the way I acted because at the end of the day, like I said, I wasn't a bad teammate, but it wasn't about me. It was about us. And what could I do to be almost like a player coach? And I wasn't a player coach. I was pouting, mad and disappointed for myself than I was still trying to figure out a way to impact our team. And I was just the opposite when I tore it the second time. And yet in some ways it was more disappointing because I got back that third year and led the Valley in 3-point shooting and was playing good. And now I felt like I had a chance to not play in the NBA, but play over in Europe. And that was taken from me. Where I pouted more academically, to be real honest with you. I was an accounting major for 3.5 years. And when I did that in Hawaii at Christmas time, my first intermediate accounting 2 test, I studied all of about 1 minute for, and I got the same corresponding grade that you would think you would get studying 1 minute for an intermediate accounting 2 test. And so I took it out academically, but I was locked into the guys and tried to stay real positive because at the end of the day, it was about helping them figure out a way to finish the season. And then got back for that 5th year and struggled physically. It just, my left knee to this day is still a mess. But I wouldn't trade it. Like if you told me I could go back one time and the NCAA would give me another year of eligibility, but I was going to blow out my knee, I'd go back one time and blow out my knee again.
Yeah. So you were an accounting major. So then how did you get into coaching then?
Well, so great, great question. Jake asked, did you always kind of want to be like your dad? I did, but I didn't want to be a teacher because I felt like my family was poor, and so My mom and dad were both teachers. My mom didn't teach while she was raising the three boys. And then when my youngest brother got back into school full time, she went back to teaching. So, I mean, when I was growing up, for the most part, we were a one income family. God bless educators. I mean, they have to work and they have to deal with a lot of interesting things these days. Yet they still don't get paid a ton. And
Mm,
so I said, there's no chance. I mean, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it at the college level or the pro level because I don't want to be a poor teacher just to coach.
mm,
And then if it doesn't work out, then I'll just go into corporate America or whatever. And thank God, because I actually did an internship playing for Creighton one of the summers that I tore my ACL in accounting. And like 3 weeks into it, my supervisor came to me and said, "You really don't want to do this, do you?" I said, "No, I don't." And he actually put me on like the outdoor crew at his company, and I cut lawns for him the rest of the
Huh.
summer because I was like, if I got to do this the rest of my life, this is going to be horrible. And I knew I needed to be involved in coaching, and so I got a business degree. I got a double major in finance and business management, but thank God I've never had to use it.
So, what was your first coaching job you got then?
Yeah, I stayed at Creighton. I stayed at Creighton for 3 years. So Coach Baroni, after my senior year, we were 24-8 and lost in the second round of the NCAA tournament to Seton Hall, and then he took the Texas A&M job. And then the guy that replaced him, which was one of our assistants, kept me on, and I was a GA the first year. Then I was a part-time assistant the second year, and then I was a full-time assistant the third year, which was great for me professionally. The problem is we went from 24 wins my senior year to 9 wins, 8 wins, 7 wins,
Mm.
and then we got fired. So at 26 years old, I was out of a job, and thankfully got hired at Eastern Illinois University for 1 year, and then got my first head coaching job at Viterbo University in Wisconsin at age 27, and I've been a head coach, like I said, for 25 years. I did go back to Creighton 2008 and worked for Dana Altman for 2 years there, kind of right before I got to Midland. But other than that, like I said, that's other than that, I've been 6 years as a Division One assistant, 5 years, 6 years as a Division One assistant, and 25 years as a college head coach.
Did you play with Dana Altman at
No,
Creighton?
I coached with him. So his
Okay.
last 2 years, coaching at Creighton, I was one of his assistants.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Um, so like, what's the difference? I know, like, when I was there, you were NAIA, now you're back in NCAA.
Yeah.
What's the difference in recruiting from NAIA to NCAA?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it's similar, obviously, in terms of the routine that you have and the way you go about establishing relationships with young people and their families and their coaches and everything else. I mean, that doesn't change much. It's probably a little more thorough at this level. So, again, and the NEI has changed since I left Midland. So the NEI had two divisions when I was
Hmm.
there, Division One and Division Two, and Midland was Division Two, and now it's they've joined together and there's just one NEI division for basketball.
Yeah.
But at the time I was there, we had 6 scholarships. At the Division Two level, we have 10 scholarships. So we have more scholarship money to play with in terms of offers. I would say for the most part, I mean, every once in a while we'd recruit somebody that had Division One talent. Not very often, but every once in a while. Whereas typically at Midland at that time, we would recruit people that had Division Two talent, and if they didn't go to Wayne or Kearney, maybe we could snag them. Or
Yeah.
if they went like an Alex Starkle, if he went to Kearney to begin with, we had recruited him really hard out of high school. He
Mhm.
chose Kearney because again, you're going to get a bigger scholarship than what we could give. Didn't work out for him, and we bring him back. And so, same thing here. You recruit a lot of the guys that go Division One, and you hope to have a great relationship with them in case it doesn't work out. And if it doesn't work out, you hope that they'll call you when they want to transfer.
Yeah.
But recruiting is the same. It's just about people and building relationships, and obviously it helps to win games. And
Yeah.
I've been pretty fortunate with that prior to here, and then here we've just been kind of spinning our wheels. We seem to be 15 and 12 almost every year. So
What's that like when so like let's say you go to Fremont and see a player you like and it's your first time you're watching him. It's like, oh, hey Wyatt, I'm Coach Eisner and I like to recruit you. So what's that? How's that process? Like, you're meeting the parents first. How's that
yeah,
even work?
that's a great question, Jake. So at the NEI level, the good and the bad of it depends on how you look at it. You can
Yeah.
recruit 365 days a year in terms of actually walking up to somebody and talking to them.
Mhm.
At the NCAA Division Two and Division One level, we have all sorts of restrictions.
Yeah.
Mm.
So right now we're in a contact period. So Friday I went and did a school visit with a recruit. Saturday, I was out watching kids in the 24 graduating class, already to get ready for next year's offers. But we are done recruiting on May 15th, and then we can't be doing anything off the road or on the road until June 15th. Whereas, again, 365 days a year, if there's something going on, OSA is putting on something in Omaha or whatever it may be, you can go every day of the year. And if the parents are there, you can talk to them. If the players there, you can talk to them.
Wow.
During the season, Jake, I can go to games from it's like November 1st to basically March 1st. And I can go there, but I can't talk to anybody.
Mm.
So like
Right.
if like now to an extreme, like I mean if a parent would come up and say hello, I can say hello to them, but like I can't talk about my school or their son or whatever it may be. You can't do that at all. Now, whether it's done, it
Yeah.
can be done.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
those are the rules. So that's called an evaluation period. So in season's called an evaluation period. You can watch anybody you want. You just can't talk to them in person. You can talk to them on the phone, text, however, whatever platform you want. But you can't do it in person. So they set up all these calendars that you have to follow as to when you can be on the road, when you can't be on the road, when you can talk to them in person, when you can't talk to them in person. And
Yeah.
Division One's very similar to that.
So, along your coaching career, all the players you've had and assistant coaches, is there any of them that stick out to you that made a good impact on you on and off the court, or just some special memories you have?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it helps again to win, and that doesn't mean those are
Mm.
the ones that, have only had the impact on you. I mean, I tell people this all the time. My second year at Viterbo, we lost our starting center like in the third game of the year to an ACL injury, and we weren't very good. And this team fought and fought and fought and fought and fought, and we finished 16-16, but we played in the game to go to the national tournament. They just kept a belief and kept fighting, and I'm not even sure. I think we might have had somebody finish second team all league, but might not have. I mean, I'm not sure we had an all conference player that year. So that, early in my career, that really sticks out. Some of the guys I coached at Bellevue, I talk to constantly yet, and
Nice.
again, we played for a national championship twice. And, so that certainly helps. But those guys, they were unique. I mean, I think they called themselves the dirt bags. They looked kind of rough and but they had a great chemistry to them. They were smart, they were tough, and they really catapulted Bellevue into a really special basketball program, both in 2003, 2004, and then 2007 and 2008. And then our Midland guys were just awesome.
Yeah.
I was back this summer, and actually Ben Imig and Alex Starkle got married on the same day.
Mm.
One in West Omaha and one out in Bennington, I think it was, or somewhere out there. And so I was able to get to both of those weddings because they were at different times, and just to see all those guys and stay in touch with them is just been a treat because just special group. We had a lot of fun over those 4 years and really helped Midland University become known for basketball during that era.
Yeah. That
Yeah, I
was.
remember like going
Yeah.
to the games and just like James Parrott,
Yeah.
and when we were in high school, I was always disappointed because like then our high school season would start and we could never go watch a game 'cause we always had practice, so we'd always go to like the first 5 games. And I just remember watching James Parrott and Vargas and Galen,
Yeah.
and then you really, I mean, it really turned around because you guys went like 19-12 that first year, I
Yep.
remember,
Yep.
and Midland really struggled before that. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was just, we inherited a good group too.
Mhm.
I mean, that first year, the guys that we inherited from Coach McGill, the Alex Kenobis and Marcus Messersmiths and Zach Rosenboom, and right on down the line, we had some players that just opened themselves up and said we're willing to try something new. And I think it was new to them. I think it was hard for them,
mhm.
but I think they felt really good about the end of their careers because they had won 8 games the year before that. They won 5 games the year before that one, and
Mm.
for them to get to the conference tournament semifinals and legitimately competing for a national tournament at large bid, I think was something that they really appreciated, and I had great respect for them because they gave us everything they had. And then with that, we already sprinkled in Ben and Donald Jones,
Mhm.
and then next year we got Parrott in there, we had a couple dudes. I mean, the things James Parrott can do on a basketball court, you can't teach. I wasn't
Yeah.
responsible. I wasn't responsible for the vertical and the
Yeah.
length and the
Yeah.
alley oops and all those type of things, but it sure made me look a whole lot smarter.
Yeah, that
Where,
was so
where did
fun watching that.
where,
Like you're going to the like, hey, are you going to the Midland game night? There's so many people would come to those games. It was fun.
Yeah.
where did Parrot go to high school? I forgot where he
Bryan
went.
High. So, I mean, that's how we got him because him and Ben Imig were such good friends from high school and then played together at
Nice.
Bellevue University.
Oh,
And then we went
Oh,
there right away when I got the job and got Galen Gully. And I mean, so
nice.
Coach Cannon and I were really good friends even before I got the Midland job. And so there was a connection there. And Galen, I think, was coming to Midland even before I got the
Mm,
job. And then it was a matter of me making sure he still wanted to come because obviously he was a really important piece to, so we had an all Bryan High backcourt and then even all Bryan High backcourt with James at the 1, 2, and 3 that year we went to the Elite Eight that was all Bryan High at the 1, 2, and 3.
wow.
And yeah, so I mean, again, there's a ton of guys there that were a bunch of fun to coach and they were really, really talented and we got them to work pretty hard. And next thing you know, we were in the Elite Eight. Next thing you know, we were playing for the national championship. And I found it funny that the last year, we lose in the first round on a last second shot and people were all mad. And I'm like, hey, 4 years ago, things were a little different. And now 4 years later, you're mad that we won 26 games and got beat in the first round.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
remember
great.
that.
That's
Yeah.
great.
yeah.
And, but yeah, really special time, really special people. My wife and I, we come back. I mean, around here think we're crazy because if we go on vacation, for lack of a better word, and vacation usually involves me playing golf somewhere. But we come back to Midland, we come back to Fremont and see all of our friends, the Randy
Yeah.
Eichmeyers and the Rectors
Nice.
and the Meisters and right on down the line, Chris
Yeah.
Egan and we that's where I spend Father's Day weekend playing in the member guest at Fremont Golf Club, and
Nice.
I'll come back one or two other times. And those are dear friends of ours, and the Tom Walkers of the world, and a lot of people that are connected to Midland. And so
Yeah.
it was a really special time, and we definitely miss the Omaha/Fremont area. And scarily enough, I mean, whenever Winona State fires me or I retire, that's probably where we're going to end up back if enough of our friends are still around.
Oh, that's awesome. So at the end of the day, you've won like over 500 games, and you've played in several national championships. What do you hope your players take away from your program when they leave and go out into the real world and face adversity that's bigger than just being down in a basketball game?
That's a great question. I mean, in a recruiting process, I talk to families, I talk to the player. It doesn't matter if the families are here or not. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to win games and we're going to do everything we can to win games. And that's why we put in all the work. But at the end of the day, my number one responsibility to young people is to do everything we can during their time here to put them in a position to be successful when they leave here. And part of the opportunity to be successful is knowing that life is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to challenge them. We want to challenge them. We want to hold them accountable. Okay. I mean, if you're supposed to be somewhere at 10 o'clock, walking in at 10:01 gets you fired in the real world,
Mm-hmm.
depending on where you work or a pay
Yeah.
cut or, whatever it may be. And so we want to teach them and show them that, this is just the way the world is. And as you break away from college is the easiest in many ways, and fun time of your life. And then once basketball's done, like it's the real world. Now you're going to more than
Mm-hmm.
likely have a family and you're going to have a job and you need to do well in your job to make money and you need money to pay your mortgage and you buy your car and to feed your kids.
Mhm.
And so all of a sudden running these sprints, running a ladder is not so hard, during fall conditioning. So understand there's a bigger picture, but to Monty Williams with the Phoenix Suns here a few years ago. I think the first year, maybe the year my Milwaukee Bucks, I think, actually beat him in the finals. Um, he had a great interview in the locker room with his team that cameras were on for, and he told his team, everything you want is on the other side of hard.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing easy is going to be handed
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah,
Nothing easy is
for
going to be
sure.
handed to you. And if you are, you're just, you kind of got a horseshoe shoved up your keister if everything's going to be easy for you. I mean, so we want to put them in tough situations. We want it to be hard, and then we want to see how they react to it.
Yeah.
And that can be in a game, that can be academically, That can be socially, again, no matter where I've been, I don't have 15 angels. I try to recruit good people that come from good families, but they make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, are they going to take responsibility for those mistakes? Are they going to make sure they don't, do the same mistake over again? And if we can put them in a position where the next time they run into a hard situation, can they look back at some of the things they experienced as a student athlete and say, been there before, I know how to get over this.
Yeah.
And if we got a lot of guys with that mentality, and then I guess I'm doing an okay job doing what I'm doing.
That's great. Well, thanks, Coach, for joining us on Being Unexpected. Good luck with your season next year. And just, you made a big impact on my life. Like you said, that freshman year was hard. And when I was a freshman, recovering from back surgery and wasn't good at school, being on that team is what kept me in college. So,
Well, we loved having you. And I tell people all the time, there was nobody that spent more time in the gym working on their game than Wyatt Spalding.
Yeah.
And our guys, I think that's the only time they were pissed at you, Wyatt, because they were tired of me comparing them to you.
Oh,
And
I believe that.
but great respect for both of you guys, and really, it's great that you're putting this podcast on. And if I can ever help in any way at any point in time in the future, please let me know.
yeah, thanks, Coach.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
guys.
Thanks.
All right, great to see you.